The alarm bells rang across the Zephyrian monitoring station. Commander Vextal's 4 eyes widened as he stared at the impossible readings on his screen. His clawed hands moved quickly over the control panel, checking the data again and again. "Sir, the sensors are showing something strange," said his aide, Officer Nixdow. The young Zephyrian's voice shook with fear. "The computer says it's a human warship." Vextal felt his blood turn cold. Humans had been dead for 300 years. The Great Purge had made sure of that. Every human world had been burned. Every human ship had been destroyed. The Galactic Empire had wiped them out completely. "Run the scan again," Vextal ordered. "Check for errors. Check everything twice." The station's computers worked for several minutes. The same result came back. A human warship was moving through their sector. The ship's signature was clear. It was definitely human technology. "This cannot be real," Vextal whispered. He had been alive during the war. He had seen human worlds burning. He had watched their ships explode in space. Humans were extinct, dead, gone forever. Far away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UNS Liberty. His brown eyes looked calm, but his heart was beating fast. They had known this day would come. After 300 years of hiding, they were finally ready to show themselves. "Captain, we're getting panic signals from the alien station," said Lisa Park, his chief engineer. She was a small woman with short black hair and smart green eyes. "They've definitely seen us." Ryan Cole, the tactical officer, smiled. He was a big man with strong shoulders and steady hands. "Should we run, sir? We can still escape." Morrison shook his head. "No, Ryan. We've been running for 3 centuries. It's time to stop running and start fighting back." The Liberty was not like the old human ships. It was bigger, faster, and much more dangerous. The humans had spent 300 years building better ships and better weapons. They had learned from their defeat. They would not make the same mistakes again. "Sam, set course to the outer system," Morrison told his navigator. Sam Turner was young but skilled. He could fly the ship through an asteroid field with his eyes closed. "Yes, sir," Sam replied. His fingers danced over controls. "Course set. We'll reach the edge of the system in 6 hours." On the monitoring station, Vextal was sending emergency messages across the galaxy. His messages went to every Imperial base, every fleet, and every government office. The code was simple but terrifying. Code Crimson. Extinct species detected. Human warship confirmed. The messages traveled through space at the speed of light. They reached the nearest Imperial base in 4 hours. The base commander read the message and nearly fell out of his chair. He sent the message to his superior. Soon, the news was racing across the entire galactic empire. Admiral Keth Moore was eating his evening meal when the message reached him. He was a proud Zephyrian with many battle scars. He had fought in dozens of wars and won them all. But when he read the message about the human ship, his appetite disappeared. "This is impossible," he said to himself. "I personally watched the last human world burn. I saw their final fleet destroyed. There are no humans left." But the sensor data was clear. The ship was definitely human. Its energy signature matched the old records perfectly. Somehow, somewhere, humans had survived. Keth Moore called his staff officers. "Prepare 3 battle fleets. We leave in 12 hours. Find that human ship and destroy it." "Sir," said one of his officers, "maybe it's just a sensor error. Or maybe rebels are using old human technology." "No," Keth Moore said firmly. "I know human ship signatures. This is real. Somehow they survived, and now they're back. We must find them before they become a threat again." On the Liberty, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was studying the Imperial communications they had intercepted. She was a scientist who specialized in studying alien species. Her dark eyes were worried as she read the messages. "Captain," she called Morrison, "you need to see this. The Empire isn't just panicking about us. They're afraid of something bigger." Morrison came to her station. "What do you mean?" Elena showed him the intercepted messages. "Look at these communication patterns. The Empire has been systematically hunting down other species too. Any race that shows promise gets eliminated. We weren't their first target, Jake. We were just the most recent. Morrison's jaw tightened. The humans had always thought they were special targets because of their advanced technology. But now it seemed the Empire was afraid of any species that might challenge them. How many other races have they destroyed? Morrison asked. I'm still analyzing the data, Elena replied. But it looks like dozens. Maybe hundreds over the past 1,000 years. They call it preventive security measures. The Liberty moved quietly through space, avoiding the Imperial patrol ships that were starting to search for them. The ship's advanced stealth systems made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. But Morrison knew they couldn't hide forever. In his private cabin, Morrison looked at an old photograph. It showed Earth before the war. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green continents. His home world had been beautiful once. Now it was a burned wasteland, uninhabitable and forgotten. But humanity had not forgotten. The survivors had spent 3 centuries planning their return. They had built hidden bases in dead star systems. They had developed new technologies. They had prepared for war. Morrison touched a button on his desk. A holographic map appeared, showing dozens of star systems. Each one had a small human base hidden somewhere. The Empire thought they had destroyed humanity, but they were wrong. Humans were like weeds, hard to kill and quick to grow back. Soon, Morrison said to the photograph, soon we'll make them pay for what they did to you. The Liberty continued on its course, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of billions of dead humans. The galaxy thought humanity was extinct. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Behind them, the Imperial fleets were gathering. The hunt for the last humans was about to begin. But this time, the humans would not run. This time, they would fight back. The war that had ended 3 centuries ago was about to begin again. And this time, humanity was ready. Admiral Keth Moore stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Victory. Around him, hundreds of screens showed the positions of his 3 battle fleets. Each fleet had 50 warships. Each warship carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. It was the largest military force assembled in decades. Admiral, the fleets are in position, reported Captain Zorthin, his second-in-command. We have ships searching every asteroid field and nebula in the sector. The human ship cannot escape. Keth Moore nodded, but his expression remained worried. Humans were tricky. They always had been. During the old war, human ships had appeared where they shouldn't be and disappeared when they should be found. Human tactics were unpredictable and dangerous. Have our propaganda offices sent out the cover story? Keth Moore asked. Yes, sir. We're telling the public that the sensor readings were false. Rebel terrorists using stolen technology. Nothing to worry about. The news services are already broadcasting it. But Keth Moore knew the truth was spreading anyway. Across the galaxy, species that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries were whispering to each other. The humans are back, they said. The Empire lied to us. The humans survived. On the Liberty, Captain Morrison was playing a deadly game. His ship moved through space like a ghost, appearing on sensors for just moments before disappearing again. The Imperial fleets were chasing shadows. Take us to the Crimson Nebula, Morrison ordered Sam Turner. Their heavy ships won't be able to follow us through the radiation fields. Sam's hands moved over the navigation controls. Course plotted, Captain. But the radiation will damage our hull if we stay too long. We won't stay long, Morrison replied. Just long enough to lose our tail. The Liberty dove into the red clouds of the nebula. The ship's special shielding protected them from the deadly radiation that would kill most alien crews. Human engineering had always been different from alien technology. Where aliens built for comfort, humans built for survival. Lisa Park watched her engineering displays carefully. Hull temperature rising, but still within acceptable limits. We can stay here for maybe 3 hours before we start taking serious damage. Behind them, the Imperial ship stopped at the edge of the nebula. Their commanders knew their ships couldn't survive inside. They would have to wait for the Liberty to come out. But Morrison had other plans. Lisa, can you boost power to the stealth systems? I can give you 20 minutes of full invisibility, Lisa replied. But it will drain our main batteries. Do it. The Liberty became completely invisible as it exited the nebula on the far side. The Imperial ships were still waiting at the other entrance, watching for a ship that was already gone. Dr. Elena Rodriguez continued studying the intercepted Imperial communications. What she found made her stomach turn cold. The Empire had files on dozens of extinct species. Each file followed the same pattern. First contact, evaluation of threat level, then complete extermination. Captain, you need to see this. Elena called Morrison to her station. I found something terrible. Morrison looked at her screens. The file showed species after species that had been wiped out by the Empire. The Kalari, masters of energy weapons. The Vorthak, who had developed faster-than-light communication. The Zenthians, who had created artificial intelligence. All of them showed technological promise, Elena explained. All of them were eliminated before they could become a threat to Imperial power. We're not the only survivors, Jake. There have to be others hiding out there. How can you be sure? Elena pulled up another file. Because some of the extermination dates don't match the historical records. The Empire claims they destroyed the Kalari homeworld 200 years ago. But I'm detecting Kalari energy signatures in some of these recent communications. Someone survived. Morrison felt a spark of hope. If other species had survived their supposed extinctions, then humanity wasn't alone. Maybe they could find allies in this fight. Keep scanning, Morrison ordered. Find out how many others are out there. Tony Kim, the ship's computer specialist, was monitoring Imperial fleet movements from a station. Tony was quiet and smart, with gentle hands that could make any computer system work better. He had noticed something interesting about how the Imperial ships moved. Captain, the enemy fleets are following a search pattern, Tony reported. But it's not random. They're systematically checking every place where a hidden base could exist. Dead star systems, asteroid fields, nebulae. It's like they have a list. Morrison frowned. What kind of list? I think they know about some of our hiding places, Tony said. Not all of them, but some. They're checking the most obvious locations first. The thought made Morrison's blood run cold. If the Empire knew about human bases, then people were in danger. Thousands of human survivors could be discovered and killed. Amy, try to contact Sanctuary Station. Morrison ordered his communications officer. Amy Brooks was young, but skilled with alien communication systems. Use emergency protocols. Warn them that the Empire might know the location. Amy's fingers worked quickly over her controls. Trying to establish contact, sir. The signal will take 6 hours to reach them. 6 hours might be too long. Morrison made a decision that could save lives or doom his mission. Sam, change course. Set a course for Sanctuary Station. Maximum speed. Sir, that will take us right through the Imperial search grid, Sam warned. I know, but we can't let them find Sanctuary. Too many people will die. The Liberty changed course and accelerated toward the hidden human base. Behind them, the Imperial fleets had finally realized their target had escaped. Admiral Kethmore was furious. How did they get past US? Kethmore demanded. Our sensors should have detected them. Sir, human technology is different from ours, Captain Zorthin replied carefully. During the old war, their ships often did things our computers said were impossible. Kethmore remembered those days. Human ships that could disappear completely. Human weapons that hit targets they shouldn't be able to reach. Human tactics that made no sense until it was too late. Find them, Kethmore ordered. Use every ship we have. Check every system. I want that human ship found and destroyed. But the Liberty was already gone, racing through space toward a rendezvous with destiny. Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the stars stream past. 300 years ago, humanity had run from this fight. Now, they were running toward it. The Empire thought they were hunting one lost human ship. They didn't know they were about to face something much worse, organized human resistance. The survivors had spent centuries preparing for this moment. They had new ships, new weapons, and new allies. The hunt had begun, but the hunters were about to become the hunted. 300 years earlier, Earth had been the jewel of human civilization. Blue oceans sparkled under a golden sun. Cities of glass and steel reached toward the sky. Millions of ships traveled between the colonies, carrying goods and people across dozens of star systems. Ambassador Helen Clark stood in the Great Hall of the United Nations building, facing 5 alien representatives. Each alien was different, but their message was the same. Earth and all human colonies must surrender. They must give up their advanced artificial intelligence technology. They must accept imperial rule. "We are offering you a choice," said the Zephyrian ambassador, his 4 eyes gleaming with false kindness. "Submit willingly, and your species will be preserved as valuable servants. Resist and face extinction." Helen Clark was a strong woman with gray hair and steel in her voice. She had spent years learning alien languages and customs. She understood exactly what they were really saying. "And if we refuse," she asked, though she already knew the answer, "then you will join the Kalari, the Vorthak, and all the others who chose poorly," the Zephyrian replied. "Your worlds will burn. Your ships will be destroyed. Your children will never see the stars again." Helen looked at the other human representatives in the hall. She saw fear in some faces, determination in others. Earth's governments had been debating this choice for months. Some wanted to surrender and hope for mercy. Others wanted to fight and die free. "Then we choose to fight," Helen said simply. "Humanity will never bow to tyranny." The alien ambassadors left Earth that same day. Within a week, the first Imperial fleets appeared in human space. The war that followed was brutal and short. Human colonies fell one by one. Earth's great cities burned under alien weapons. But some humans had prepared for this day. Secret military bases had been built in dead star systems. Colony ships had been hidden in distant nebulae. When Earth fell, thousands of humans escaped into the darkness between the stars. Colonel Beth Adams remembered those days clearly. She had been young then, a Marine lieutenant on one of the last ships to escape Earth. Now she was older, with gray streaks in her brown hair and scars on her hands from years of hidden wars. Beth stood in the boarding bay of the Liberty, checking her weapons and armor. Captain Morrison had given her a dangerous mission. They needed information about Imperial fleet movements, and the best way to get was to capture an enemy ship. "Remember, we need prisoners alive," Beth told her Marines. "Dead enemies can't answer questions." Her team consisted of 12 fighters, all volunteers from different human settlements. They wore black armor that made them nearly invisible in space. Their weapons were quiet and precise. The target was an Imperial courier ship carrying messages between fleet commanders. It was small, fast, and lightly armed, perfect for a quick capture mission. "Boarding pods ready, Colonel," reported Sergeant Mike Johnson. He was a big man with steady nerves and good instincts. Beth had worked with him for 10 years. "Launch when ready," Beth ordered. The boarding pods shot out from the Liberty like bullets, crossing the dark space between ships in seconds. They attached to the courier ship's hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches burned through the metal hull, creating entry points for the Marines. Beth led her team through the breach, moving quickly through the ship's corridors. The alien crew was caught completely by surprise. Most surrendered without a fight. Within minutes, the ship was captured. The ship's captain was a young Zephyrian named Telmar. He sat in the Liberty's interrogation room, his 4 eyes wide with fear. Beth sat across from him, her face calm but her eyes dangerous. "I want to know about the fleet movements in this sector," Beth said in perfect Zephyrian language. "I want to know how many ships you have and where they're going." "I cannot tell you that," Telmar replied. "I am an officer of the Galactic Empire. I will not betray my duty." Beth smiled coldly. "Your empire told you that humans were extinct, didn't it? That we were all dead and gone. How's that working out for you?" Telmar's confidence began to crack. Everything he had been taught said this was impossible. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Yet here he was, captured by human soldiers on a human warship. "You're lying," he said weakly. "This must be some kind of trick." "No trick," Beth replied. "We survived. We've been hiding and growing stronger for 300 years. And now we're back." Over the next hour, Beth slowly broke down the young officer's resistance. She didn't use torture or violence. She used something more powerful: truth. She showed him records of human settlements that had supposedly been destroyed. She played him recordings of human voices from worlds the Empire claimed to have burned completely. Finally, Telmar broke. "The colony ships," he whispered. "Some of the colony ships escaped. Command has always known this. They've been hunting survivors for centuries. How many ships does your fleet have?" Beth asked. 300 in this sector. Admiral Kethmore commands them all, but there are more fleets coming. High Command is mobilizing everything. They're terrified that if humans return, other extinct species might return too. Beth felt her blood turn cold. What other extinct species? Telmar looked around the room nervously. The Kalari, the Vorthak, the Zenthians, dozens of others. Command believes some survivors from each species might still be alive. Hidden like you were hidden. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. Beth had to get this information to Captain Morrison immediately. Meanwhile, in the Liberty's computer center, Tony Kim was analyzing data from the captured courier ship. His gentle fingers moved over the keyboard as he dug through layers of encrypted files. What he found made his heart race. "Captain," Tony called Morrison over his communication system. "I've found something incredible. The Empire has been tracking energy signatures that match extinct species technology. They have evidence that survivors from at least 20 different species are still alive." Morrison felt hope growing in his chest. If 20 species had survivors, then humanity had potential allies everywhere. The Empire had made the same mistake with each of them, assuming that complete extermination was possible. "Tony, can you identify where these survivors might be?" "Working on it, sir. The Empire's tracking data shows activity in 12 different sectors. Some of it might be old automated systems, but some of it looks like active civilizations." Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined them, carrying data from her own analysis. "I've been studying the Imperial extermination protocols. They always make the same error. They target the homeworlds and major colonies, but they don't hunt down every single ship and settlement. They assume the survivors will die out on their own. But they don't," Morrison realized. Intelligent species are survivors by nature. Given time, even small populations can rebuild. Elena nodded. "Exactly. And 300 years is enough time to build a hidden civilization if you're careful and smart about it." The Liberty continued through space, carrying its cargo of secrets and hope. Behind them, the Imperial fleet searched desperately for their target. Admiral Kethmore was getting reports from across the galaxy. Other sectors were reporting strange energy signatures. Ships that shouldn't exist. Species that should be dead. "Sir, High Command is requesting a full report," Captain Zorthin told his admiral. "They want to know if the human threat is real." Kethmore looked at the tactical displays, showing his 3 fleets searching empty space. "The threat is real. More real than they understand. If humans survive, then others survive too. We may have been fighting ghosts for centuries without knowing it. The war that had supposedly ended 300 years ago had never really ended. It had just gone underground, waiting for the right moment to emerge again. That moment was now arriving, and the galaxy would never be the same. The signal came through on an old frequency that hadn't been used in decades. Amy Brooks looked up from her communications console with surprise and excitement. Someone was broadcasting on the ancient emergency channel that human survivors had agreed to use centuries ago. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," Amy reported. "It's using pre-war human encryption codes." Morrison felt his heart skip a beat. "Put it through." A woman's voice filled the bridge, calm and confident despite the static. "Liberty, this is Phoenix Station. We've been waiting for you. Welcome home." Morrison had heard stories about Phoenix Station, but he had thought they were just legends. During the chaos after Earth's fall, someone calling themselves Phoenix had helped coordinate evacuations and establish hidden bases. Most people believed Phoenix was just a code name used by many different resistance leaders. "Phoenix Station, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the UNS Liberty. We need guidance to a safe harbor." "Understood, Liberty. Transmitting navigation coordinates now. Follow the quantum beacon trail. Trust no other signals. Phoenix out." Sam Turner plotted the course on his navigation display. Captain, these coordinates lead to the Graveyard Nebula. Nothing lives there. It's full of radiation and dead stars. Perfect place to hide, Morrison replied. Set course, Sam. Let's go meet some ghosts. The Liberty traveled for 3 days through increasingly empty space. Behind them, the Imperial fleets continued their search, but they were looking in the wrong places. The Empire had always avoided areas like the Graveyard Nebula. Too dangerous, too empty, too worthless. As they approached the nebula, Amy detected more signals. Captain, I'm reading multiple ships out there. Human signatures, but also others I don't recognize. How many? Morrison asked. At least 50, sir. Maybe more. They're spread throughout the nebula, using the radiation to hide their energy signatures. The Liberty followed the quantum beacons deeper into the nebula. Gradually, a massive structure appeared on their sensors. It was built inside a hollow asteroid, invisible to normal scans but buzzing with life and activity. Sanctuary Station, Sam breathed. It's real. The station was enormous, easily large enough to house 1 million people. Docking bays carved into the asteroid's surface could accommodate hundreds of ships. Gardens and living areas were built in rotating sections that provided artificial gravity. It was a hidden city among the stars. Liberty, this is Sanctuary Control. You are cleared for Docking Bay 7. Welcome to the Rebellion. As their ship settled into the docking bay, Morrison and his crew saw something amazing. The bay was filled with ships from dozens of different species. Sleek Kalari fighters sat next to angular Vortak cruisers. Strange Zenthian vessels with their crystalline hulls gleamed under the station lights. And everywhere, human ships of various sizes and designs. They're all supposed to be extinct, Lisa Park whispered. A woman was waiting for them as they left their ship. She was tall and strong, with silver hair and bright blue eyes that seemed to see everything. Her uniform bore the insignia of an Earth Navy admiral, but Morrison had never seen her before. Captain Morrison, she said, extending her hand. I'm Admiral Kate Sullivan. Welcome to Sanctuary Station. Morrison shook her hand, studying her face. She looked familiar somehow. Admiral Sullivan? But you're supposed to be dead. You went down with the battleship Defiance during the siege of Alpha Centauri. Kate smiled sadly. That's what we wanted everyone to believe, including the Empire. Sometimes the best way to fight is to let your enemy think you're dead. She led Morrison and his senior officers through the station. Everywhere they looked, they saw the impossible. Survivors from species that had supposedly been wiped out completely. Humans worked alongside Kalari engineers. Vortak warriors trained with human marines. Zenthian scientists shared laboratories with human researchers. How is this possible? Dr. Elena Rodriguez asked. The Empire said they destroyed these species completely. The Empire believed their own propaganda, Kate replied. They attacked the obvious targets. Homeworlds, major colonies, military bases. But they never hunt down every single ship, every small settlement, every group of refugees. They assume the survivors will die out naturally. They entered a vast command center where representatives from dozens of species worked together. The display showed star maps with hundreds of hidden bases, supply routes, and communication networks. We call it the Underground Railroad, Kate explained. For 3 centuries, we've been secretly moving survivors to safety. When the Empire targets a species for extinction, we evacuate as many as we can. We give them new homes, new identities, new hope. Morrison was amazed. How many species have you saved? 47 so far. Each one brings their own knowledge and skills. The Kalari taught us about energy weapons. The Vortak showed us advanced armor techniques. The Zenthians helped us develop better computers. Working together, we become stronger than any of us could be alone. Lisa Park was examining the station's engineering systems with obvious admiration. This is incredible. You combine technologies from dozens of species. Some of these systems shouldn't be possible. A Kalari engineer approached them. His people were tall and thin, with blue skin and large eyes. Engineer Park, he said in accented English. I am Veltar. I helped design the power systems here. Would you like to see how we combine human fusion reactors with Kalari energy crystals? Lisa's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. Yes, please. Meanwhile, Amy Brooks was talking with the station's communications officers. They showed her a network that connected hidden bases across the galaxy. Messages could be sent securely between survivors of different species, coordinating rescues and sharing intelligence. The Empire thinks they're hunting individual species, explained a human communications specialist named Carl Davis. They don't know we're all working together now. They still think in terms of the old divisions between species. Admiral Sullivan took Morrison to a private office overlooking the station's main habitat area. Through the transparent walls, they could see families from different species living and working together. Human children played with young Kalari. Vorthak farmers tended gardens alongside human botanists. This is what we're really fighting for, Kate said. Not revenge, though we all want that. We're fighting for the right of all species to exist freely. The Empire has turned the galaxy into a graveyard. We're trying to bring it back to life. Morrison looked at the tactical displays on Kate's desk. They showed Imperial fleet movements across dozens of sectors. They're really mobilizing everything, aren't they? Yes. Your appearance has scared them badly. They know that if one extinct species can return, others can too. High Command is ordering complete elimination of any world that might harbor survivors. Then we need to act fast, Morrison said. How many ships can you put into action? Kate smiled grimly. More than you might expect. We've been building and preparing for 300 years. Each species has contributed their best technology. Our combined fleet may be smaller than the Imperial Navy, but it's much more advanced. She showed him a holographic display of their hidden fleet. Hundreds of ships waited in concealed bases throughout the galaxy. Each ship combined the best elements of multiple species technology. They were faster than Imperial ships, better armed, and much harder to detect. The Empire has always won through overwhelming force, Kate explained. They throw massive fleets at their enemies and crush them through sheer numbers. But they've never faced a coordinated resistance from multiple species working together. Morrison felt hope growing in his chest. For 3 centuries, the survivors had been hiding and running. Now they were finally strong enough to fight back. And they wouldn't be fighting alone. When do we begin? Morrison asked. Kate's smile was sharp and dangerous. The Empire is already hunting us. The war has already begun. They just don't know it yet. Outside the station, Imperial search fleets continued their desperate hunt for the vanished Liberty. They searched dead systems and empty nebulae, not knowing that their greatest fear was already coming true. The extinct species weren't extinct at all. They were alive, organized, and ready for war.